Right. Hi, everyone. I'm Louis Biontolillo, and welcome to yet another Feliciano Now. Today, I'll be speaking with Dr. Jack Samuels, who is a full professor in the Department of Hospitality and Tourism here at the Feliciano School of Business. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
It's my pleasure, and I hope we can enlighten some people and make them happier in these times of COVID.
Yeah, I like making people happy. Let's do that right now.
Yes.
So today we'll be talking about the impact that COVID has had on the tourism industry in whole. So, ready to get started?
I am ready. I'm ready. I probably, should make this one opening comment before you ask any questions, all right? Because it's a good one. All right. So, I was actually on the Arthur Fromer travel show several weeks ago, which is a radio program that they do every Saturday. And I had to call in because, everybody's a little blue about travel and so on and so forth. So there actually was a study done in 2010 about when are people the happiest when they're going to go on a vacation. And it turns out, guess what? You want to guess?
Right before the vacation.
That is correct. See, we didn't have to do the study. I always say research is usually done to prove to others what we already know is true. That's my famous research adage. So yes, they found out that people are happiest when they're planning vacations. So this is why I've planned probably 50 vacations this year that have been canceled, mostly canceled, but not all. We squeezed in a few.
All right. Well, then let's make people happy and get them ready to plan those vacations.
There we go.
So first question to you is, how has COVID overall impacted the holiday travel season in the following industries with airlines, hotels, resorts, and of course, cruise ships as well?
Yeah, well, the cruise industry is completely shot for the holidays, except in Europe. And most of those cruises in Europe, you can't go on because you have to be a national of the country. For example, Costa Cruise Lines is running cruises out of Italy. They only go to Italy, and you have to be an Italian citizen to go on. So cruising is pretty much kaput because all the cruise lines decided to not rush into it. Hotels, of course, we have hotels, resorts. It is possible to go to some places like Mexico has had resorts open. I think some of the tropical islands, and of course, you can always say I'm going to Disney World, but and look who's here with me today. Another industry.
Oh, hello.
Mickey Skier is here with me. We'll talk about the ski industry, I hope, because that's a possibility. But the problem with going to Florida is when you come back from there, you have to quarantine for 14 days. So, you're going to have a sort of a vacation. Well, you'll be working at home, I guess, so that maybe it's not that hard to do the self-quarantine when you come home. I had to do it when we came off the last cruise, my cruise class in March. We were the last cruise, and every onshore guy was crying. It was terrible. I had to cheer them up. I said it's going to end sometime. It won't be forever. So what happened? We covered airlines. Yeah, they're running. They're starting to see a dip already because, all these new problems are cropping up everywhere, and that's a problem. I will tell you this about the airline industry. They did a study, very scientific one, where they put sensors on the planes, collectors and everything, and they found basically you had close to a 1 in a million chance of getting COVID on an airplane, which is pretty amazing. Now that's
good news.
Because of all the HEPA filters and that a lot of the airlines are not packing the planes, and of course they're being very strict with the mask and so on and so forth. So plane travel is possible. The question is where are you going on the plane? I mean, we were supposed to go on a cruise out of San Diego, Chile, between the COVID outbreak there, and also they have security problems there. They've had, people pilfering and stuff because they're desperate, and, so on and so forth. So, depends where you're going to go for plane travel. What haven't we covered? We did cruises, we did
That's it.
hotels.
That's good.
Yeah, hotels are generally very welcoming. We can talk a little bit more about those. Yeah.
So you mentioned in there, and this is a follow-up question. You mentioned the 14-day quarantine if you were coming back from Florida. Do you believe that with all of the governors changing their minds about which states are on that quarantine list and which states aren't, and that's constantly changing, do you think that's discouraging people from going on these vacations?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of the unfortunate politicization of the whole, mess that we're going through. I mean, look, everybody has their opinion about this. I dealt with paranoid people on several committees. The schools just closed down in New York basically because of the teachers union. The Catholic schools and the private schools are still staying open. But mayor made an agreement with the teachers union. If it got up to 0.3, I'm sure everybody's heard about this in the news. So yeah, it's a problem. Now, of course, some governors like what's her name, Kristi Noem, I think, is the governor of South Dakota. I hope I got her name right. She is, one of these governors that says, damn the torpedoes, we're never closing. And she's been running, in my opinion, fantastic tourism ads on TV, inviting people to come. She says things like, when you feel you're ready, come to South Dakota, and they have, she's emphasizing the outdoor aspects, which, it's maybe something else we want to talk about. Outdoor recreation has been pretty big during these COVID times. So that's why maybe we want to talk about skiing.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to that in a little bit. So
Surely.
with all of that keeping in mind, we know that these industries are suffering right now. Nobody expected this, obviously. So nobody was planning for this. What are the revenue predictions for these industries?
Well, we know already, the cruise lines. I mean, I have a little feel for each industry, what's happened, because full disclosure, I did buy stock in almost every company just to show my support. Not all of them, but I have a few in each industry. So theme parks, I have a little bit of an inside track. Well, we know that Disney just reported earnings that weren't that bad. All right. But that is largely been because they are a diverse media company and they have the Disney Plus. And I think that's where, anything that's online has seen a surge. We all know that. When the vaccines came out the past couple weeks, all of the online things like Netflix, they all took a dip in the stock price. So theme park companies, I know SeaWorld Parks has suffered a lot, but their stock has come back a lot. Six Flags has come back quite a lot also. I mean, the prognosis for these theme park companies, even during the summer, a lot of them opened up. Some states, they wouldn't allow it. I actually wrote about an idea in Trade Magazine in June, and Busch Gardens actually, I don't know whether they 100% got it from me, but some people think they did get it out of that article because it was a little too coincidental. They did almost exactly what I wrote. All right, let's put it that way.
It seems that the regional theme park companies are doing better than the world-class Universal Studios, the Disney Worlds.
Well, yeah, that's because those places rely more on travel,
right.
To get to them, to keep their audience up. I mean, and I've always said if Disney and the whole Orlando area hadn't cultivated the international market over the years, that they would not be in very good shape. Because if you go to Disney World, there are certain times of the year where sometimes it's hard to find somebody that speaks English in the tourist group. I mean, the cast members always speak English, of course, and many of them are multilingual because of that. But yeah, the destination ones, you're right, are they've lost more. And then of course California, Governor Newsom hasn't allowed them to open at all. And this is a big point of contention in California.
And we have seen the not the owners, but the people that run Disneyland Park and Universal Studios Hollywood come after Governor Newsom as well.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, rightfully so, because they see what's happened in Florida, right? I mean, it's a much, much bigger operation with a lot. One thing I have to give credit to everyone in the industry. There's been amazing amounts of committees to, operate under COVID. Right here in New Jersey, just a local example, the New Jersey Amusement Association, headed by Kim Samarelli, who was a professor for us for an entire year last year, as a replacement professor. They basically spearheaded, things to do with COVID that were copied by a lot of other jurisdictions and states. So they were really pioneers in it. And then, of course, we had NCL and Royal Caribbean joined hands in a partnership, which I always like to see for things like this, because, I feel there are certain things in business where you're not really competing, right?
Right.
If everybody manages to do well with controlling COVID, it's good for the whole industry, so I think this is, meritorious that they partnered up together and did an extraordinary job. And they need to roll it out slowly. So that's why they canceled the cruises. I think they've canceled all of them in January, except I think they're starting with some in Florida in January.
So moving the conversation to hotels. I, for one, have not been to a hotel since the pandemic has started because I haven't been traveling. And I'm willing to bet that many of our viewers also have not been to a hotel since the pandemic started. What has that industry specifically done to make travelers feel safe? What precautions are they taking?
Well, they're everything in the industry is sanitizing crazy. All right. It makes me think about, if you've ever been on a cruise, well, NCL especially, they have what they call the washy people.
I know the washy. I love their songs.
Right, and they become celebrities on every cruise. These people, when they have the closing ceremony in the showroom, that they march them in last, and people just go crazy, because everybody on the ship knows them. And I mean, sometimes you think it's a little bit too much, but now, you're going to go on a cruise and you're going to say, spray my entire body, please.
They were ahead of their game.
Let me have it. So
they were ahead of the game for sure.
Right. So the hotels have pretty much, gone very intensified. They make you wear a mask in any common area. I experienced them signing me in and out when I went to the exercise room or the pool. Some of them, the pools are not open, but I think a lot of them have the pool open, but they're, making you sign in, or they're telling you must socially distance in a pool so you're not close together. But they're limiting numbers in those areas because, it's people are sweating, or in the pool.
And
there's a lot
we've seen limiting numbers across all industries pretty much, but especially.
And the hotels are not, most of them are not cleaning rooms every day also. That's a pretty common thing. So you can go down to front desk, get all the towels you want, or ask for any amenities, but they're not cleaning rooms on a daily basis for the most part. So and the food in a hotel where they give you free food in the morning for breakfast. They're doing different things. Some of them are providing bags of food that you just pick up. Some of them are putting some food out, and then they tell you you can't sit and eat in the eating area. Although now, well, they had made that a little more lax. With the new surge, who knows? Maybe they're going to get a little more strict again.
So
everything is fluid here. We don't know from day to day.
Obviously, from a consumer standpoint, if I'm going on a vacation using any of these, I'm using resorts, cruise ships, airlines, it's not the same. And it's for some of us, it decreases its value. So what are these industries doing to promote themselves? What promotions are they making?
Well, NCL, I just saw the ad this morning, actually, for the first time. They're running a very good ad telling people that, we're doing everything to make it safe. We want you back. And I guess they started running those ads because they know they're going to start. The bookings, I have to tell you, on cruise ships are doing very well for the upcoming year. I mean, my personal opinion is people are going to want to travel like frickin' banshees. When this ends. The industry is just going to explode when it ends. So they are, they're doing everything they can to make people feel safe. Now, what beyond that, the positives of it is you're going to go on a cruise and it's only going to have 50% capacity. So, I think that's pretty neat, right? Because the number of staff people are going to be the same. They're
Right.
not cutting the staff 50% for sure. You can't operate a ship. And, you can't really operate anything, a hotel or anything.
An amusement park.
Yeah. Well, what they did at Busch Gardens, I can tell you the idea they used. Their governor, Ralph Norton, another one that's kind of interesting. I try not to get into the politics, but everybody knows these Democratic governors, they seem to have distinguished traits, one way or the other.
They've definitely been more strict with this virus.
Yeah, so he's been very strict, and he was limiting attendance in any place to 1,000 people. So what they ended up doing was they broke the day into several segments. And just to give you an example of one, this is one of the ones I had suggested in the article. In the evening, they were running what they called, and I give them credit for the name, but the idea was to pair just roller coasters with beer, all right? And they called it crafts and coasters. So they had craft beer and coasters. And they've always been big on beer because remember, Busch Gardens was originally built by Anheuser-Busch.
Of course.
It's not owned by them anymore. They spun it off and it's a separate corporation now. So they opened, for 4 or 5 hours, only roller coasters, only beer. The tickets for like a whole, so many 5, 6 sessions, they sold out in like a half a day. Because people were dying to, and it's a good opportunity, right? You're only going to have 1,000 people in a park. And you probably won't have to wait online at all to get on all these roller coasters, whereas normally sometimes for a roller coaster, unless you have a fast pass, you wait half an hour, it's crazy amounts of time. So I actually think that may be one of the lasting impacts of COVID. I think some places are going to do marketing things like that because let's say Busch Gardens normally would close at 9 or 10 o'clock at night on a summer day. Now they could reopen from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and just do this crafts and coasters thing and throw a DJ in there. So you have a whole new source of revenue.
We've seen Disney and Universal do those types of events before COVID. We saw like the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party.
Correct.
Um, the
That
Halloween Horror
was
Night.
a spark for me to think of this kind of idea. You know, except those things have been very traditional and they've been around for years. I think there's a lot of room for creativity. My other suggestion was 10 to 2 or 9 to 2 in the morning. You do just a family session, and you maybe throw in a free breakfast. I mean, there's
Right.
all kinds of marketing implications. There's some things they did that I thought were good, but there were some pricing things and things that I think they could have done a little differently. So,
Well,
but
regardless,
that's getting more into the business of it, which probably most people aren't interested in here.
so without getting political, it is a political question inherently, so we have to talk about it a little bit. But
Should I hide? Should I hide behind my light up mask?
I think you might have to.
I might have.
So right now, as they are suffering, what can the U.S. government do to help these industries?
Well, there's really only one thing: is money. You know, I mean, the cruise industry really has gotten nothing. There was a whole big to do over it. I think I responded to a blog on that actually. And, you know, they were saying, oh, we shouldn't help the cruise industry because, you know, it's all foreigners working on the ships and so on and so forth, you know, that kind of thing. And the ships are registered, but, you know, the US headquarters, they're all in the US. I mean, the corporate headquarters are in the U.S.
Right, even though the ships might be registered.
Even though the ships, you know, and there's a whole tax and, you know, different reasons, which we're not going to go into here.
That's a topic for another day.
Right, it's a topic for another day. But you know, what people don't realize is those cruise lines employ so many people. There's all these mothers and dads and retirees that are working out of their house all the time. Even, I mean, now, of course, they're still taking bookings that way because of this COVID thing, but they always work that way. And you know, their business was cut drastically. The onshore workers that I encountered when I came off the cruise who were crying because they're right at the height of their season, no cruises. I mean, you know, this is pretty emotional for these people. And not to mention all the airfares and the pre-stays. You know, when people go on a cruise out of Florida, you usually do a couple days in Miami or Disney World, or, I mean, it just goes on and on. So the impact of that industry is huge. And, you know, I mean, this COVID thing is nobody's fault, you know, so if the government's going to help, they need, you know, they need to help everyone. And I mean, the worst of it is the restaurant people. And I don't want to get into the whole bailout thing because some of it wasn't really well structured. I mean, particularly the one, you know, where they gave everybody, what was it, $600 a week bonus, right, which was a disincentive, on all honesty, for a lot of people to go to work. Some people, I know people that said, why should I work? I'm making more money on unemployment than I would make if I was doing my regular job. So
sure, we definitely heard some of those examples. And my last question, going along with the government here, obviously with former Vice President Joe Biden becoming President-elect Joe Biden, do you think there will be any differences with the way the U.S. government handles this industry?
Yeah, well, you know, I think a lot of things about Bidenomics and Biden's policies are, you know, TBA. We haven't heard him say anything. You know, his big thing, I mean, that would have been something that I would have liked him to address more. You know, how he was going to treat industry would have probably been more, and more specifics about what you're going to do for the economy. You know, I mean, his whole thing was, criticizing Donald Trump for not wearing a mask, and I'm going to wear a mask, and it's patriotic, and now he has said he's not shutting anything down, but I don't think he can stop people from shutting down, because these governors are still shutting things down, and I think it would probably, my best understanding is that even a mask mandate it's not really enforceable. It's gonna say to the governors, I'd like you to do this, but whether they're actually going to do it is something again. So my only hope is less politicization for Joe Biden, if he's listening. Less politicization over this, and more help. Let's see some more help for these industries that were really, really hurt. And 50% of the unemployment was in hospitality and tourism. So it was by far and away the most hurt industry. And of course, the worst of all of it is the restaurants.
Right.
The restaurants really took it on the head.
Well, we're all trying to get through this pandemic, not only being healthy, but also being happy as well. So we are running out of time, but I want to thank you so much for being here with us today.
My pleasure.
And again,
it was really great interview, and I always enjoy doing these.
Yeah, definitely a lot of fun. And we got to speak about hospitality, tourism, and the effects that COVID will have on it. So
I hope everybody plans a trip, plans a vacation. Think about outdoor things. Skiing is good. Hiking, those things are pretty good. And just be careful, and you should be okay, hopefully. Have a happy holidays to all.
Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. This has been another Feliciano Now. I'm Louis Biontalillo, and we will see you again real soon for more Feliciano videos. Thanks so much.